I was all set to it. It says I'm live, but here we go. I was all set to adjust my camera, but for some reason it's actually perfect. I think I'm getting a little problem with backlighting. It's still broad daylight out here on Cape Cod. It was supposed to be cloudy today, and it's actually kind of gorgeous out, which I can't complain. Still a little muggy. That humidity is what's going to kill you. But anywho, I am now live. I am not Memorex. I hope you guys all stopped by and saw my first installment of Creatures and/or Features with our good friend Tug, along with Harold the Hatter and our good friend Damien, all of whom I hope will be joining us tonight. But yes, I'm actually, and it's funny too, because as always, I'm always allowing for these little catastrophic system failures, which I don't not get. But again, everything went very smoothly today. And Dan, the breaking news man, is today's winner. Dan says, "Hi there," and hi there to you too, Dan. So good to see you. You win an air high five. Here you go, air high fives, air high fives. There you go. How's it going? Gary Carpenter who says, "I'm back, everyone." And Dan says Jenny Wilder died. Jenny Wilder. Why is that name ringing a bell? Dan, I'm ashamed to ask, but please give whatever the most likely thing I would have seen her in, please, because it's ringing a bell. I just can't quite place it. Harold the Hatter is here. Harold, you actually beat Tug. And he says, "Hey, wrapping up a show, then hopping on my comp." There you go. Please do, please do. Little House on the Prairie. Oh, oh yes, of course, of course. Oh, that's very. We've had a lot of heavy casualties. Shannon Doherty died only this morning. That one broke my heart. Shelley Duvall died. Dr. Ruth and Richard Simmons. Rest in peace to all of you young folks. Gary Carpenter mentions Shelley Duvall and Shannon Doherty. Dan mentioned Shannon Doherty. And David is here. He says, "Howdy, all neighbors." David, so nice you could make it to the party. And yes, Harold, take your time. We're hopping, you will make it soon as well. But yeah, some real heavy casualties. It was so funny because, as you guys know, this Monday we're having a retro pal loser on Dave Sunstrom's channel, and of course, it's going to be recent celebrity passings that have impacted us all most deeply. And he said, "Do you want to cover specifically the ones we've lost this past week?" And I go, "Week? The ones we've lost today?" But yes, we will certainly be making a special credence to recent fallen friends. Dan says Popeye and Olive Oil is in heaven together now. That's a very touching way of looking at it. Oh, also, dude who played Bluto, who was Roban in David Lynch's Dune. I've only seen the first half of the new one. But yeah, Gary Carpenter says, "T, have you seen the Grim Life Collective?" Shelley Duvall was being interviewed by him and his wife in her car. I have not. I have not. I've seen part of the interview she did with that charlatan who recommends teenagers for, well, I won't get started on that one. But I have not seen the Grim Life Collective. I will check it out though. If you feel the need to. JRA is here and says the president was um how you doing, JRA? Always glad to have friends join us. Um and I'm sure you had only the most altruistic of intentions. Our culture here is nostalgia and light. I know celebrity passings aren't really light, but they are nostalgia. I know there were a lot of big things that have gone on recently on the political stage, and I feel deeply for them. I'd like to keep this platform just lighter, nostalgic, fair, but I couldn't agree with you more. What happened this weekend was a tragedy. And Harold's Becky says, "I didn't realize Shannon Doherty was on Little House on the Prairie." No, no, Jenny. Jenny Wright. Jenny Wright. Well, yes, thank you. And Keith E is here and he says, B. And a B to you too. And Gary Carpenter's here and says, Benji Gregory died 46. Oh yes, the young man from Alf. He played the younger son. And oh, Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington is here. Oh my gosh, so good to see you, Banjo Sandwich. Well, welcome to the Party Suplex series. Says good evening. Sean Innes is here. Says hello all. Hello again today to some of you. And Gary Carpenter says Dr. Ruth dead. I know 96. 96. It just shows to go, yeah. And Dan says Grim Life Collective is great. YouTube channel. I meant them at a convention. Oh, they're right here on. I was hoping I'd get them on YouTube. Thank you very much for the pitch. And oh, Jake Hudson's here. Oh my God, Jake, how you doing, man? Welcome. I'm sorry I've been able to catch more of your lives. You, Lobo Gris, the Pod Blast. I've been so busy, like with my stuff, I haven't had a chance to come on by. But if you guys get a chance, please check out Jake Hudson on his channel as well. Same with Banjo Sandwich, by the way. I it's funny because I realize now I haven't been on your channel in some time, but we haven't seen you here either. So we're gonna have to play catch up. Thank you very much. Dominic Dees here says, "Hey everyone," and Gary's like, Gary, again, you may have just missed it. Recent events are very sad, but something I think this channel we should try to keep this channel to nostalgia. I certainly respect your feelings and your concerns, every single one of you. I feel, but again, my culture is nostalgia, and I'd like to just sort of stay in that bandwidth. A lot of people saying hello to one another. Gary says, Teb is here. Teb says, happy Sunday fun day. Happy Sunday fun day to you too, by the way. And I more than understand. Yeah, Teb, I actually found out about Shannon Doherty before you did. Teb wants to do a tribute to her, just not quite ready yet. And Jake says, I would love to get a Thrash Pondo sticker. I will happily get you a Thrash Pondo sticker when they're available. Until then, you could just, I don't know, screenshot. And Dave just jumped off the page, so I'm gonna have to backtrack a little. Oh, here we are. Weird, me and my brother just olive oil. My brother and I love Popeye. Hearing about the actors died. Man said, rip. I know, R.I.P. Definitely. Daryl Johnson's here. He says, Bob. Daryl, how you doing, man? Teb says, no, Thrash, you meant Jenny. I said Jenny Wright, didn't I? I'm sorry. Jenny Wright was the groupie in Pink Floyd's The Wall, and I definitely meant Jenny Wilder. I do that more and more, guys. I get a wire crossed in my head, so I get half the name right and not the other. Today I mentioned James Whitman from Shawshank Redemptions. Whitmore, James Whitmore, and I'm a half wit for not remembering that. Thank you, Teb. Gold star today. Dominic D says Dr. Ruth lived a long life. She certainly did. And Dan says, no, the character played on Little House on the Prairie. Shannon Doherty played that character. Shannon Doherty wasn't born until 1971. Shannon Doherty was on Little House. I'm confused. Anyway, please let me know in the comments below. Oh, Jake is liked and shared. Thank you very much, Jake. WD says, I think Richard Simmons was 76. Sounds about right. And I'm just going to carefully scroll up because a lot of people are saying hi to one another. Tracy's here and says hi, Robert and gang. And Tracy, I hope I'm not pushing the envelope here. But people, please send Tracy positive vibes, both her and her husband. Their dog of 14 years has passed on. Complications from arthritis, if I read the post correctly. Brave little guy, sweet little thing. Tracy, we all love you and we all feel for your loss. Dan says, sweat to the oldies and deal a meal, Richard Simmons. Both of those things, definitely. Teb says, this week's been very hard for us Gen Xers and millennials because so many icons of our childhood are now no longer with us. Ain't that the truth? Sean says, I nothing. He jumped off the page. He will never turn the page. I went to hear Dr. Ruth once in college. She had an interesting run of popularity from 85 to 95 or so. I remember when I was in high school, she had her own late night radio show, which I used to stay up to to listen, by the way. It was very raunchy. At least today. Cindy D is here and says hello, everyone. Hello to you too, Cindy D. Gary Benjo Sandwich Worthington. I love that name. I just love saying it. Gary Benjo Sandwich Worthington says hi, all. Mr. Benjo Sandwich, thank you so much for joining us. You are welcome as always, and don't be such a stranger. And I'll try to be such a stranger on your channel either. A lot of people saying hello to one another, and I'm going to very delicately skim upwards. Superlink says, "So I see we are back to the Mrs. Glasses. I see. These are the best frames I got. These just, and they made me look silly, and I love looking silly." But these are the best. They work the best, by the way. And I last week I was having trouble reading my own handwriting, so I got to use lenses I can actually see through. Keith E says Thrash has young timers. I do have young timers. I got some old timers too. Time for timer. I hanker for a hunk of cheese. David says I heard from rumors Spaceballs 2 is coming out. That true. I've heard rumors. He's been talking about that for years. He was talking about that when the second Star Wars franchise came out, which is 30 years ago almost now. 25 anyway. So it could be, hopefully. There's also a he was talking about History of the World Part 2. Oh, Lance is here. He says, I'm lurking. Lance lurks late. Lance strikes straight. Sydney says hello to a whole bunch of people, and I'm sure they say hello as well. And John P. Adventures is here, and he says many emojis and good evening to other emojis. And I couldn't agree with you more, John. So glad you could make it. And Tim says 90210 may have put Shannon Doherty on the map, but everyone's first introduction to her was the role as Jenny Wilder in the 9th and final season of Little House on the Prairie, rebranding Little House a New Beginning. That's why I had long since tuned out by that phase. Teb, thank you so much. The first thing I remember seeing Shannon Doherty in is as other Heather in Heathers, by the way. And I thought she was absolutely amazing. I thought she stole the movie. I really did. But I did not recall her in Little House. So thank you for clearing. And that's why Jenny Wilder. Okay, now, all right. I think I pieced all the characters together. I thought someone else had died, and I just wasn't placing the name, which happens. Sometimes when people mention a name to me, and I'll like dee trying to think of it, I'll like rack my brains. So because sad to hear of your beloved dog's passing. And Lance says, R.I.P. Tracy, I'm so sorry. And Tug says, good evening, all. Tug, funny to see you again today. Always great to see you. Welcome to the show. Sean says, lurking Lance, I sense larceny, maybe even licentiousness. I love it. And I was doing Gwyneth Brooks. Five at the Golden Fountain. It's one of my favorite beat poetry poems, and I can never keep the title straight. Where's Indy when I need him most? And let's see, a lot of people saying hello to one another. I'm gonna Cindy says hello to me. Thank you. My flock is everywhere. As here says hi, Pawns. My flock. So awesome to see you, Sister Sarah. I know you've been having a tough time of late. Positive vibes, my dear. Positive vibes. I'll send all the positive vibes I can. Oh, also, if you can do me a favor, please send links to Jake Hudson, a link to John P. Adventures, and a link to Gary Banjo Sandwich, please, on behalf of us. Lynn says Shannon Doherty was in an Airwolf episode. I don't recall that episode, but that's a fun fact. Thank you. BK on the air. Oh my God, Barry's here. Barry, so good to see you. I can't wait for this Monday. I'll have more footage too, I'm afraid. But remember, BK on the air, or Barry, as I like to call him, Pat McCormick and Dave and I are having our retro Palooza. Did we decide it was 4 or 5? We for some reason we can't remember how many we've had, but we're having our latest and much overdue retro Palooza this coming Monday night, the 15th. Let's just see. Tug says, "Oh, hello to everyone." I think I'm almost caught up, but I'm gonna. Oh, Indy's here. He says, "I hanker for a hunka, a slabber, a slice of chunka, a hanker for a hunka cheese." Oh, look, a wagon wheel, sir. It is 2:30 in the morning. Yeah, he gets it. I cried when I saw the first after school special with Timer when the kids have to go back. Cindy says Shannon was in Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And Helen Hunt with Sarah Jessica Parker. I didn't see that movie. I'll be honest with you. I like the other girl from Square Pegs. Everyone likes Sarah Jessica Parker, but when I was a kid, I liked the other girl in Square Pegs, who retired. Dominic D says, I think Shannon Doherty was in Little House spinoff Father Murphy. Maybe I'm wrong. Ooh, I do remember Father Murphy, but that we're going ways back. We're going ways back. Keith says, like number 11, did I lose video feed? Well, no, we're at 13 now. We're at 14 likes of 13 viewers. Can everyone else see me, or is it audio only? With Keith, we're never quite sure. No offense, Keith. But I believe I'm still projecting. Yeah, I'm projecting all right. I'm projecting my anxieties. I'm projecting my own fears. I'm projecting my own social awkwardness. Feel free to add your own thing I'm projecting in the comments below. Tracy says, thank you guys for your thoughts. And Gary Carpenter says, Dom, she was on Little House. Yes, and thank you for helping me establish that, guys. I was missing the boat on that one. Sean says, I think of Heather's when I think of Doherty. Is that pate? I don't want to think that's pate at all. I think that's perfectly unpate. Daryl asked Tracy if doing okay. And Tim says, I know that Benji Gregory, Brian Tanner from ALF, died a month ago from heat related causes as the young age of 46, along with his service dog. He joined the military years following the show's end. I didn't know about his military service. He couldn't have been in First Gulf. He would have been way too in First Gulf. Keith said, Fat fingered the screen and lost the video feed. How many times a day do you think I do that? And Dominic says, okay, thanks, Gary. Emily's here. Emily, just Emily says, hey, y'all, I'm here, but I'm eating. I'll chat more in a bit. Miss, finish your dinner. Please don't let me draw you away from nourishment. And Gary says, I love Shannon Doherty on Charmed. That story makes me so sad how, I'm just going to say it. The waist now, again, she did have her own problems. She went through her own prima donna phase. She has been known for being difficult to work with in some stages. But from what I understand, she was, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I understand it is, Miss Milano, who I may or may not have met at one point in my life, Miss Milano literally bullied her off the show. And let there be light. And let there be light, and there was light. And that's just not cool. So, but I did love her on Charmed as well. And Entry says, Daryl, there's a hole in my heart. Oh, I'm so sorry, miss. Dominic says, I know how it feels to lose a pet. Sorry, Tracy. This is gonna sound pathetic, but I remember I lost my basset hound, Roger, the day before I went back to school for 6th grade in 1979. And some days it still bothers me. Pet mourning is real. And you know what? I believe Mama Thrash has it hard too sometimes as well. She loved that dog. I'm sure she loved it as much as I did. The photo finish. But I remember, I will never forget the day she had to tell me and how broken up she was. And what happened to the nostalgia and good times and happiness here? But anyway, Tracy, again, I sincerely feel for you. And Gary says, I love Shannon on Charmed. Yes. Oh, Trey says, love you guys. Tug says, somebody's gonna die laughing from hitting that button so much. LOL. And BK, Mr. Barry says, Retropalooza, yeah. Retropalooza, yeah. Definitely. Yowza, yowza, yowza with the mic. Oh, Retropalooza 7. 7. Excellent, excellent. Daryl Jones says, yeah, I get that. GF still hasn't gotten over the loss of our beagle. Oh, I'm very sorry. Was it named Snoopy? And Teb says Shelley Duvall said she didn't have a good experience while filming The Shining. Not only now, Stanley Kubrick, she said she did like Stanley Kubrick. He was a great guy. He was a professional. She learned a lot from him, but he drove her to despair. He was a perfectionist and have her do scenes over and over and over and over again. The bat scene going up the stairs, he filmed 127 times. She started losing her hair by the chunks. It was so distressing. And she's like, also, when you force yourself to cry for 16 hours a day, it takes a lot out of you. And I'm not going to point fingers because I wasn't there, but from understand, a certain leading man she was in that movie with was difficult with her as well. And I'm just going to leave that at that. But yes, from what I understand, she had such a horrible time making Shining, she considered getting out of the business altogether. And here's where the irony kicks in. She decided to stick it out. And in one of, if not her absolute next project, Time Bandits, as you remember, she played the fiance in Time Bandits to Michael Palin. There's a scene where they're about to kiss in a medieval stagecoach, and the dwarves, the little men, fall on her. One of them fell right on her head and gave her a neck injury that she suffered from the rest of her days. So, talk about how Hollywood is a harsh mistress. So, yes, Teb, she had a dreadful time. And Gary says Shannon and Sarah Michelle Gellar were great friends. I can see that. I can see that. So Luke says, yes, we see you. Thank you. And Daryl says, I can see you. And Cindy D says, I like rice aroni, the San Francisco treat. Rice aroni, the San Francisco treat. My daughter said, huh, laughing out loud. Tried to make me go to rehab. I said, huh, huh, huh. And Tracy says to Terrell, she said once she had pneumonia while filming The Shining. Well, that couldn't have helped her health. And Mr. Tugg says Terry Gilliam accidentally broke her neck on the set of Time Bandits, which was right after The Shining. It gave her chronic pain for the rest of her life. Well, great minds think alike, don't we, Tug? Oh, did I get that from you? I thought I got that from a Time Bandits thing, but if I got that from one of your posts, I accredit you. And even you know what? Even if I did, I accredit you because you're an inspiration to all of us. Tracy says, Gary, I had to put my dog down. Yes, and very very sad. And Cindy says, shit. She says shit. She says shit. She says Shannon was in house with Deirdre Hall. And Tip says, you may not know this, but Shannon Doherty and Will Wheaton provided the voices of Mrs. Brisby's kids in the Don Bluth animated masterpiece, Secret of Nim. I absolutely did not know that. I was a little old for cartoons at the time, but Mrs. Frisbee on the Rats of Nim was like one of my favorite books when I was a kid. So when the Don Bluth animated came out, I definitely saw it. I did not know they provided the voice of the kids. And he says to Tug, you say accidentally. I'm sure it wasn't intentional. John Dozier says, hello, Thresh. It's showtime. Or should I say, here's Johnny. And Sean says, should pate. It was the line from Heather's that got repeated. I own a copy of Heather's, but I haven't seen it in probably 20 years. There's a bell ringing in the back of my head. I think I know. All I remember is the humanity. But I think I see where you're going with this, and forgive me for not picking up on it. That happens actually. I'm so busy reading the comments, sometimes I don't pick up on the subtleties. Gary says, "The other guy, you have a long name, just call me GC. I insist. Please." And Tracy says, "Loved Dr. Ruth. She was so funny." Yeah, she escaped Europe as the Holocaust was going on. They smuggled her to Israel. Teb says Kim Walker, who played Heather Chandler in The Heathers, died tragically of a brain tumor in 2001 at the age of 31. Yes, and apparently everybody loved her. Apparently she was amazing, but yeah, she died of as you say, brain tumor. Very sad. And Gary says Tracy's over that. You can get another one. And John Doe says a lot of passing of this weekend. I know that's kind of where we came in. We were just talking about that. A lot of people as of recent. And Gary says, Tracy, I'm sorry for that. You can. Oh yes, I read that. I think. And Cindy says, I love Shelley Duvall in Roxanne. Is it when she turned on the red light? Angela says, Tracy, I have to admit, Dr. Ruth reminded me of my first grade teacher. Ew. And the idea of my first grade teacher instructing us on it was comical. It would almost have to be. And Gary Compton says, Cindy, she was in Popeye and Time Bandits. I love Time Bandits, and she was great in that, even though she's only in the 2 scenes. And Daryl says, we are surrounded by death today. It's in the air that we breathe. And Tug says, rumor has it she hit Jack with the baseball bat accidentally. Yeah. I think she was just so distressed. It was sort of like one of my Mrs. Thrash's favorite scene of all time in Family Guy, where he's tickling her and she's like, "Stop!" Kwong decks him with a frying pan, and she's like, "I told you to stop." Teb says Shannon had very public view feuds with her co-stars Jenny Garth and Alyssa Milano. I know. My understanding though is Jenny Garth and her did manage to smooth things over. But Alyssa Milano basically said I'm good, which I thought was hardly a high road. And Sean says I like Shelley in Roxanne with Steve Martin. I don't remember her in Roxanne. I mean, I take your word for it, but I think I saw Roxanne when it was in the theaters 40 years ago. And like I say, it didn't really stay with me. And Tug says it was the director, not one of the little actors. But I thought it was one of the little actors. Every time I tell the story, Mrs. Thrash laughs. It's so tragic, but she giggles. She's like I thought what happened was one of the little people fell through the ceiling and actually fell on top of her. And again, if I stole that anecdote from you, Tug, you're sick. You are so sick. She can't breathe. She's laughing so hard. She's got her head on the counter so you can't hear her laugh. You're going to hell, my dear. You're so mean. Anyway, if I stole that anecdote for you, I'm sorry. Dominic D says she was the perfect olive oil. She certainly was. She certainly was. And John Doe says, as a kid, couldn't get through Time Bandits. I think I was just at the right age. I was still young enough to be a kid, but old enough that I could appreciate wackiness, craziness. I had developed um a love of Monty Python at that time, and even though it wasn't a Monty Python film, it had enough Monty Pythons in it to actually make me want to love it. In fact, they and Tug, if I stole this from you, I apologize too. It sounds like something you'd point out. Um, the reason it bombed in the United States was it was marketed as a Monty Python movie, and it was not. And Tracy says, Gary, I still have my Chihuahua. Thanks. I'm buenos dias to the Chihuahua. And Gary says, when I just finished watching the Grim Life Collective with and Shelley was being interviewed, she looks terrible and living out of her car. Oh, that's awful. Oh, that's awful. And Cindy says, just said that Sean Innes. Apparently, a lot of people did to Cindy and to Sean. So because I am convinced that Stanley Kubrick, as great a filmmaker as he was more than a bit of a misogynist. I think he hated people as a whole. I think everything I've heard is he was like Hitchcock, where people meant nothing to him. It's almost like the joke in Rick and Morty, where it says, "I briefly saw him forget the word human." He was a magnificent filmmaker, but I think he held people in a very, very poor light. But women may be worse than men. Oh, I jumped again, but I think I'm gonna just catch up here. So I'm gonna kind of scroll through this rather quickly. Oh, here we go. And Gary says to Tracy, "That's good." And Cindy says she never heard of the commercial thresh for rice and roni. Your daughter never heard rice roni, the San Francisco treat with the box cars being pulled up the road, the street cars being pulled up the road. Wow, crazy. And John does the same thing with Big Trouble in Little China. That was a little odd for me too. The first time I saw it, that was an acquired taste for me too. Gary says to Z, "You wouldn't catch me watching The Shining, not in a million years." And Tug says she sells she she sells seashells too. And Cindy says, "Our house, Thresh. Our house is a very, very, very fine house with two cats in the yard. Life used to be so copyright strike." And Indy says to Superplex, "It wasn't misogyny specifically, it was raging narcissism generally." Oh, narcissism. Yeah. Well, a narcissist can be a misanthrope. Did I use that word right, Indy? A misanthrope is someone who hates humanity. You can call me humanity, 'cause it all seems just like human behavior. It all seems just like Zuplex says, didn't appreciate Kubrick's interpretation, Gary. Neither did Stephen King. Oh no, King hated it. King hated it. And Gary says, "John, I think I'd rather see that than The Shining." Um, Big Trouble in China, yeah. And Cindy says, "I've never watched The Shining." And Zublik says, "I still believe Kubrick was a bit of a misogynist." Oh, like I say, we could certainly interpret it that way. And Tug says, "Stephen King approved miniseries was absolutely horrendous." Never saw it. I never saw it. I heard bad things about it though, even though it was supposedly more accurate. And Tom McCluskey's here. Tom McCluskey here. Says hi, people. Tom McCluskey, how do you welcome to the party? We're just about getting ready to start the tonight's trivia. I just want to catch up real quickly. In fact, we're gonna rush through. Cindy says Steve Martin with a Roxanne. Gary says, "Cindy, believe me, you don't want to see, especially the scene where she accidentally she attacked her husband with a knife." Ew. And John Doe says something about Stephen King movies I can only watch a handful of times before it turns into a waste of time. And he says to Tug, "Was that the Steven Weber one?" I think it was. I think it was. Anthony says, "I don't want to." And Zipper says, Joe, did you mean Carrie?" And Tug says, "Yes, Indy." The CG hedge animals. And John Doe says the birds aren't real. And he says they should have done crossover with Edward Scissorhands. Oh, dude, I can see that. I can so see that. And John Doe says, "I saw the original Carrie a few times." Yes, I like the original Carrie. And Gary says, "There was another one I don't want to see, especially the scene at the prom where I know that scene is so sick." Somebody says, "Has anyone seen Needful Things?" I saw it, and I don't, it was missing something. I'm not sure what it was missing. I saw it years ago when I had my own film review show, The Real Deal. Yes, I'm a film review show, The Real Deal. And Sean says to Geek, "Agreed. It was the opposite of One from the Heart, The Shining with Weber and Demonet versus Nicholson Duvall as a better looking cast, later being so much better." Teb says Richard Simmons was known for his many appearances on General Hospital in the early 80s during the height of the Luke and Laura craze. Oh, Daryl did like Needful Things. I guess a lot of people did. I love Max von Sydow. And Tug says Gilliam was demonstrating how safe it was going to be when the little actors were going to fall through the carriage ceiling. Ironic that. Yes, it certainly was. Somebody says, "I think Shawshank Redemption has a cult status and is very popular." My favorite Stephen King movie, John. Oh, Zublik says, uh, "I saw it fairly pedestrian." And John Doe says, I tried to watch Time Bandits a few times throughout my life and nope, can't get through it. Just not for me. Free country. Different strokes for different people. And Gary says, John, I tried to watch it. It's a classic like that. Out Needful Things, not Shawshank. Thank you. I wasn't 100%. And Keith, he says 755. Well, we're getting close. And Tom McCluskey said Richard Simmons saved many lives, and he's not even a doctor. Good point. And Tug said Arthur C. Clarke once said of Kubrick that he was the most intelligent person he ever met who didn't know anything about humanity. Oh, and Keith, he is Hungary, or you're giving a shout out to the country, the nation of Hungary. Either way. And WD says David Letterman and Richard Simmons on his show many times. He was always funny on that. There's a horrible one where he pretends to bring out Babs too, by the way. And I guess Richard didn't think it was funny at the time. But my wife was telling me something about it. And Tim says Shelley Duvall didn't get credit for going behind the camera when she started doing content aimed at kids and teens like Fairy Tale Theater and Mother Goose Rockin' Rhymes. I'll buy that. And Gary says that movie was a real haunted prison. Oh, I believe it. I believe it. Shawshank. And John Doe says to Thresh, don't know if it'll affect your area, but the tri-state is getting a heat wave starting Monday. Oh, it'll affect my area. It's been very hot up here too, by the way. Thanks for letting us know. Oh, and John Collins is here. John Collins is here. And he just jumped off the page. He says, Bob Robert, did you see that I called you? Appreciate you so that, and so does your throng of supporters, Robbie Bobby, in all respect, which I have for you. You're not very good at returning phone calls. Sorry, I got your message last night. I had to work last night and I got out late. It was Saturday. And I promise you, I meant to call you today, Johnny. But the day just got away from me. I was on Tug's show this morning and I prepared for my show tonight. Johnny, I promise I'll give you a call tomorrow. Okay, guy? Late morning, early afternoon. Zublik says true Kubrick's film has an undertone of misanthropy, and he says narcissists don't hate humanity. They tend to think of them as not being important enough to care about, let alone hate. Good point. And Gary says, John, it's already getting hot in NC. And Tug says Kubrick was also famously sensitive about how other people saw him. People are multitudes, not easily pigeonholed. And Tracy says, I'm going to take off and go to bed. Love you as all. Thanks again. Tracy, get some rest. We all love you very much. Take care of yourself. My lady, a lot of people saying good night to Tracy. Jonathan Stephen King hated the original Shining, loved the one with Weber. Oh, there we go. It was in his book. Teb says, did any of you watch Fairy Tale Theater or Mother Goose Rockin' Rhyme? Little old at that point, so no, I didn't see those. Zublik says, indeed, perhaps narcissism has an inextricable connection to artistical, creative people. Unfortunately, you might be onto something there. Johnny Orchard is here. He says, hey, buddy, we are in Monument Valley on our way to Las Vegas. You rock. Thank you. I'm going to call you again this week, too. I did call you, but I had to leave a message. Oh, and I got that message from John, which I've read. And he says to Johnny Orchard, tell the ghost of John Ford I said hi. I could have so many jokes for John Ford, but I won't. And good point, win some money. Oh my god, I'm actually caught up. Miss Starch, be a dear and hand me that jug of purple stuff. Thank you. I'm a little parched here. Generic grape drink. Thank you. Oh, and John Collins says message retracted. I'm guessing that was the message you thought that I hadn't seen. But yes, I saw it. And like I say, I'll call you tomorrow. I promise. And Chance is here. The Nostalgia Pod Blast says hi, all, and hi to you too. So good to see you. You're another one I keep trying to get in touch with. The last week, summers on Cape Cod are crazy, particularly when you work in hospitality. And this last week has been absolute. Couple of weeks actually, since the starting on the 4th, have been crazy. I can't believe. It's been a week and a half since the 4th. Crazy, man, crazy. But anyway, Chance, I haven't forgotten about you. Great to see you. Sean saying hello to everybody. John is saying at Thrash. A lot of people saying hello to John and to Chance. And oh, I was cut up here. Uh-oh, Spaghetti-O. Yes, here we go. Chance saying hello to everybody. Tug says, don't you mean shitting? You want to get sued. Oh, John's 20th anniversary. Congratulations. Win some money. Gary says Kubrick was just like Hitchcock. He drove Tippi Hedren crazy. Oh, Treehouse of Horror 5. Yeah, that's where the shin comes from. I'm going to skim down really quick. He will call. Trust me. Thank you. And Tug says, I'm pretty sure Tippi Hedren believes in real birds. I'm pretty sure too. Brain Benders and More is here. Says, hey, Thrash. Brain Benders and More. Everyone, Chrissy from Brain Benders and More is an absolute sweetheart. She said wonderful thing about me on her page. I want to thank you for every single one of them. Please give her a link to her channel as well, by the way, folks. If you haven't already joined, she puts out some great stuff. I love the historic stuff you're putting out lately, too, by the way. The mini history videos are great. Keithy says maybe John Collins could get a call at 4 a.m. Hopefully not. A little early for me. We're in the same time zone. Chrissy says hello to everybody. Everyone's saying hello back. John goes, as purple as a fruit. It is now. Everyone's saying hi to me and Mrs. Pons. Brian. Oh, Brain Benders more. I thought Brian was here too, by the way. Well, anyway, Brian, hello. Sorry if we missed you. And yeah, everyone knows Chrissy apparently, by the way. So, I mean, we'll still give you a link if we can. I don't know if haven't seen Danny. I think Danny is on Lobo Griss's live stream, which is still going on at the moment. And I'm not sure my flock is still with us. I haven't seen her in a while. But anyway, if we can do links, we'll certainly drop links. And it says ring ring. Hello. Cindy says it's Mama Wife Thrash. Mama Wife. Oh, it's funny. My mother and I were just talking about that. My wife is Mrs. Thrash. My mother is Mama Thrash, as in Mama Cass, only substantially of less girth. But yeah, so I call her Mama, and she loves being called Mama Thrash. So when I say Mama Thrash, it's my mother who lives with us, and Mrs. Thrash is my wife, who also lives with us. We're just one big happy family. When he says, take two, what's the category, Bob? I'm so glad you asked. Oh, L-Man is here. L-Man is here, and L-Man says, do you know Lord Gabriel? My grandmother's name was Gabrielle. Gabrielle Jakes. And I knew her, perhaps the angel Gabriel, but I'm not entirely sure, L-Man, but welcome to the party. We're just about to start trivia. It's random movie trivia tonight, by the way. I decided to go for something mainstream. Oh, L-Man says not that. Well, then I'm not sure. And John Doe says, have you ever seen Harvey's Festival of Fears? If not, check it out. There's a bell ringing in my head, but it's probably the tinnitus. And Elman says Lord Gabriel versus Stefan and his mom and the fight of the century on Skype. No, I don't. And his bout says, and Tug says, random, my favorite subject. Ah, yes. And Daryl John says, one ring will rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness, bind them. Jen says, sitting here eating a Costco hot dog, listening to Thrash. Sounds fun to me. And Harold the Head is here, says, sorry, I finished the show with my wife. Glad you can make it. You're just in time. I'm just about to start the trivia. And John says, going to go searching for the Duke. Hope you get that pun. Oh, I did. I did. And good luck. And Harold says, was lurking. Well, you were going to give you Watch House. Well, I'm glad you lurked for the watch. And Elman says, do you know Arrow Cars? Not personally. I know Richard Ocasek. And John Doe says Harvey is a horror show host. There's a bell ringing in my head. I'm sure I know of it. And while everyone says hello to one another, I'm actually going to start with tonight's trivia. Again, random movie factoids. And as always, I'm going to give them to you in no particular order. Number 10. Both W.C. Fields and Ed Wynn were considered to play this character in 1939's Wizard of Oz. Was it... Wait. I got the year wrong. But anyway, in The Wizard of Oz, was it A, the Scarecrow, B, the Tin Man, C, the Cowardly Lion, or D, the Wizard? And I'm going to repeat that. And was it 39? Oh, John says, Bob, all I was going to do and still will with you when the phone call was commensurate about this wild, wild show which you're living through related to sociopolitical accoutrement. Looking forward to it. And Harold says, hey, Thrash Bond. Oh, he's saying hello to so many people. And let's just see here. Anyway, I'm going to repeat. Oh, Gabriel Kaplan, Keithy suggests. Both W.C. Fields and Ed Wynn were both considered to play this character, and I'm going to stand by it. 1939's film, The Wizard of Oz. Was it A, the Scarecrow, B, the Tin Man, C, the Cowardly Lion, or D, the Wizard? Tug says the Witchy Wizard of the West. Owen Zublik says, yes, it was 1939. Thank you. I would have bet money it was 1939, but for some reason I was second-guessing myself. But thank you. And Indy says, I believe that was Paul Lind. Tommy D says, Toto. John Doe says, the Lizard People. Wasn't the Lizard People in Blackout 2025 or Blackout 2225 or Blackout 2550? The Andre Norton film set after World War III. Aren't the Lizard Men in that? NTM. Lisa Fields is here. Hey, Thrash. Or hi, Thrash. Hey, everyone. I'm here. So glad you could be here. In fact, I'm going to repeat this question one more time for you because we just started trivia. Both W.C. Fields and Ed Wynn were both considered to play this character in the 1939 film The Wizard of Oz. Was it A, the Scarecrow, B, the Tin Man, C, the Cowardly Lion, or D, the Wizard? And Zublik says, who played the Flying Monkeys? I'm guessing trained chimpanzees. And Gary says, Geek, the Wicked Witch of the West is my aunt twofold. No kidding. The correct answer, anyway, is the Wizard, yes. I was going to say, that one should be fairly easy because, to the best of my knowledge, neither one of them could sing or dance. So, moving forward. Number 9. Speaking of Hitchcock. Number 9. Hitchcock won his one and only Best Picture Academy Award for this film. Was it A, Psycho, Rear Window, A, Psycho, B, Rear Window, C, Lifeboat, or D, Rebecca? And I shall repeat. Alfred Hitchcock won his one and only Best Picture Academy Award for this film. Was it A, Psycho, B, Rear Window, C, Lifeboat, or D, Rebecca? Gary Garber says Indy Paul Lynn was on Donnie Marie doing a version and he was the witch. Why don't I remember that? You'd think I would. China says, yep, I think you are right, Indy. What else is new? I'm not going to give the game away. Oh my God! Modest Reviews is here. It says, what's up, brother? Modest Reviews. I'd love to give you a link, but apparently my lods are ghosting me. My mods are ghosting me. My droogs are ghosting me. Real horror show. So unfortunately, but anyway, if you get a chance, please check out Modest Reviews. Some funny material he's putting out. And Daryl says the head flying monkey was played by Pat Walshy. Huh. Interesting. Interesting. I did not know that. I did not know that. Modest Review says, no worries, my friend. I think you've been here before, so I think most of my people are familiar with your channel from the go of Get. But anyway, I'm so glad you could make it. And yes, the correct answer is D, Rebecca, which, India, that threw me because that was the one movie I wouldn't have picked. In fact, I don't even think I've seen it. But anyway, moving on. And you know me, I normally never ever give questions that I wouldn't have gotten right. I think it's unfair. But yeah, I'm like, no, that was just too good a question to not pose. And speaking of questions that I got right, James Dean received two posthumous Academy Award nominations for these two flicks. Was it A, East of Eden and Giant, B, Giant and Rebel of the Cause, C, Rebel Without a Cause and East of Eden, or D, Rebel Without a Cause and Trouble Along the Way? I shall repeat. You know, you really should wait and let me give all the selections before you answer. But I must confess, I did the same thing because I knew it. All right, I'll repeat the question anyway. James Dean received two posthumous Academy Award nominations for these two flicks. Was it A, East of Eden and Giant, B, Giant and Rebel Without a Cause, C, Rebel Without a Cause and East of Eden, or D, Rebel Without a Cause and Trouble Along the Way? Cindy D never heard from Along the Way. That's fine. He's not even in it. And I say that confidently because everybody knew that wasn't the right answer. And Daryl said Patrick Walshy, July 26, 1900 to December 11 of 1991, was an American dwarf actor and circus performer who specialized in impersonation portraying animals. That is awesome sauce. Thank you for letting me in the bag. And Tug says, I am certain about Giant and about 50-50 on the other one. So basically, you're saying you're going to throw out D and then take a wild stabbing guess. Emily says, I missed the second question, but if Rebecca was the answer, I wouldn't have gotten it wrong anyway. Me too. And Indy says to Tug, you can take your foot off the gas, Tug. You're good. And Gary Carter says, I don't think Hitchcock was a human, but a weirdo. Well, there's certainly enough evidence supporting the fact that he was something about a weird. Good evening. Good evening. Yeah, one of those like emotionally unstable genius types. Anywho, okay, Tug, have you guessed yet? I'm gonna give you guys just a few more seconds because you're right. It's come down to we're in coin toss mode now. Yes, A. Giant, of course. I mean, Giant was the biggie. But the other one was East of Eden. Rebel of Cause had come out while he was still alive. Number 7. This iconic actress played Catwoman in the 1966 Batman feature film. A, Eartha Kitt, B, Julie Newmar, C, Lee Merriweather, or D, Arlene Martell? Oh, Christopher Wilkinson, good evening, Bob. So good to see you. John Doe says Martha Stewart. I shall repeat. This iconic actress played Catwoman in the 1966 Batman feature film. A, Eartha Kitt, B, Julie Newmar, C, Lee Merriweather, or D, Arlene Martell? And for those of you who say D, unfortunately, no, although I think Arlene Martell would have made an amazing Catwoman, she did not play Catwoman, ever. She's the only one here who actually didn't. And yes, the correct answer is C, Lee Merriweather. Thank you. Very parched lately. I think I'm dehydrogenated. Number 6, and then we'll get scores. Mel Brooks made his directorial debut in this famous parody film. A, The 12 Chairs. B, The Producers. C, the Saddles. Or D, Young Frankenstein. I shall repeat. Mel Brooks made his directorial debut in this famous parody film. Was it A, The 12 Chairs, B, The Producers, C, Blazing Saddles, or D, Young Frankenstein? John Doe says One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Oh, and Tug, did I in fact steal that anecdote from you? Is that in the earlier post about the person falling on Duvall's head? And Tom McCluskey said met W.C. Fields' grandson at a convention once. That is so cool. When I was a kid, I loved the old black and white comics. When I was a kid, W.C. Fields was great. It's cool that you met his grandson. And I'm gonna give it a second because they're still kind of pouring in. This one was a little tricky. Because it's what he was best known for, and then what came out first. Somebody, Tug says, "Yeah, that anecdote was in my Time Bandits review, so you might have learned it from me." I'm pretty sure that I did, and this happens to me a lot, Tug. I will have heard a fact, but then you reinforce it. It's like there's an old Benny Hill joke where he's an impresario, a game show host, and one of the contestants gives an answer that they're not sure is correct, and so Benny says, "Oh, go to Britannica, see what I wrote." And he says, "And yet I don't feel tricked." Good. And John Doe says, "Hot potato, hot potato, hot potato." John Collins says, "Message retracted," and a message retracted to you too, son. And Daryl says, "Or do I call you Tom? I know a secret down at Uncle Tom's cabin. I know a secret that I just can't tell. Take it." Know who put the bodies, know who put the bodies in the wishing well. Yes, I do warrant as a lounge lizard number. And let's just see. Oh, have I given the answer yet? B, The Producers. And now I want to see some scores. Well, up to it. Daryl Johnson. And no singing. You call that singing? Miles Review says, "Love Warrant." I love Warrant too. And the funny thing is, the only song anyone ever remembers them for is Cherry Pie. And he hated doing that song. It made him a ridiculous amount of money, but he hated it. He wanted to do power ballads like Uncle Tom's Cabin. And Cindy says, "Sing it, Thrash." And Zublik says, 5 for 5. Excellent. Emily Miller says, "Can anybody else tell Bob is ADHD?" Mrs. Thrash certainly can. Tom McCluskey says, "Tom, yes." And Christopher is saying, "Good evening to Emily." Sean is 5 for 5, killing it tonight. Excellent. Emily Miller's 3 for 5. Excellent. Harold the Hatter is 2 of 5. And he says, "When the Wright Brothers movie came out in 1971, I remember thinking they should have cast Shatner, but I could refer to it as Nightmare at 10 feet." By the way, so far, so good. Nightmare at 10 feet. Twilight Zone reference. Twilight Zone reference. And Tug says, "The 9 o'clock show is completely different from the 6 o'clock show." And tip your waiters. We prefer the term servers. We are paid to serve, not to wait. And I'm kidding. I don't care. I'm just playing with you. And Tug is 5 for 5. Modest Review says, "Where the down boys go." Uncle Tom's Cabin? Okay. And Gary Carpenter says 4 for 5. And Zuplik says, "Are you a bartender?" I do both. I do both, but the restaurant I'm working at, oh, make a really long story short. What had happened was they used to have a bartender who actually waited the bar and a service bartender who made the drinks for the servers. When the bar crowd disappeared during COVID, we went down to a one bar station. Most nights, the bartender can keep up on that fairly easily. So there's just not enough bar shifts to go around. So most of my shifts are on the sales floor. But thank you, Zuplex, for asking. And Zuplex says, "So you take orders?" Yes, I only follow orders. And Tug says, "I'll have the chicken parm and an old fashioned." Would you like that with the maker's mark? On the rocks or off the rocks? Sweet or not so sweet? And on the chicken parm, it comes with linguine. Would you prefer that or the ziti or the capellini, the angel hair absorbed sauce better? And you should want to start with an appetizer. We always had great luck with our traditional cheesy Italian garlic cheesy bread, but we now have a gorgonzola cheesy bread, which is even cheesier. You know, I wish it was made with Gouda, because then I could say it's even Gouda. And that's my general pitch. Um and Zublik says, "Waiting on tables I am." Dominic D says, "How do you make a Harvey Wall banger?" What you do is you take Harvey by the head, and you smash his head into the wall until he tells you where the jewels are. No, it's actually it's a screwdriver, which is you got to make a Vernon screwdriver, right? You tell it's the only way she gets a ride home. I'm sorry, the devil made me say that. No, it's orange juice and vodka. When you take orange juice and vodka and add Galliano, which is a vanilla flavored liqueur, then it's a Harvey Wallbanger. They're very tasty, by the way. They're very, very tasty. And I would actually, if I was to make one today, particularly if we were doing like girly bar, like the club scene and stuff, I would actually use uh vanilla flavored vodka with the Harvey Wallbanger. City says Thrash takes our orders on here all the time. Gary says T is a bartender. I'll order the Shirley Temple. I make a mean Shirley Temple. Now how to make a mean Shirley Temple? Yeah, tell her Little Princess was a bad movie. Ziplik says, "I mean, not am." And he says, "I assume that much like John Bobbitt, you guys weren't temporarily short staffed, but Individual Minds is here, says, "Ayo." Pawns, Modest, M, Daryl, Geek, Gary, Zublex, Harold. Y'all good tonight? We are all good, Mr. Individual Minds. So glad you could make it. We're even better now. Tug says, "Do you have calamari?" We'd be a fine seaside Italian restaurant if we didn't have calamari. And let me tell the chef to make that a little extra crispy. The flavors just come together and it's not quite as gummy. And Miles Review says Johnny Walker Black Label on the rocks, please. What's in that? And Shana says, "I recommend myself to visiting your restaurant this fall. Please do. Please do. It's the Parma Italian Table, West Yarmouth, Mass. And I will repeat that before you come to Cape Cod. But I would love to see you, Sean. And that goes for any of you. And ask for Bob, which is my non stage name. And a lot of people saying hi to Indy. Emily says, "That does sound good. It really is." Indy says, "I meant to say, having a good night, y'all." We certainly are either way. WD says, "I think it's vodka, OJ, and Galliano. Tastes like cough syrup. Not the way I make it, bro. Not the way I make it." And Tug says, "Indy, they found the rest of the staff on the side of the road a few miles away." Ew. And Gary says, "I'd rather clean off the tables. You don't want to see my handwriting." I know servers all have the handwriting like doctors. There have been times where I couldn't read my own order taking. I've had to go back to a table. I'm not making this up. And Sean says, "Now I want chicken parm. Hold the old fashioned." Ew. I know I would do a beer. Cape Cod Red, personal favorite. although I've developed a taste for Madeo. John Collins says, speaking of Donnie and Marie, Carol O'Connor and Jane Stapleton appeared on the shelf late in life, a show, I'm assuming that was, and both of them refused to do voices, even for money. Such integrity in both of them. And Emily says, "End mine, I'm doing good. Hope you are as well." And Mama's review says, "What's up?" And oh, ew, calamari. Yeah, I don't like it either, but I recommend it to my guests. And asks, asks if Moss is digging his own worms. And Sean says, "I'll take your calamari." And Gary says, "Sean, I'll take the chicken tetrazzini and a Manhattan." Uh, and again, what kind of booze you wanted that? Just off the shelf? Ew. And Tug says, "I'm sold. I'll take the Marker's Mark. No rocks. Rocks on the side." And Emily says, "Calamari is too chewy for me. That's why I make it crispy. It's not as gumby." And I was going to skim down really, really quick because I'm already behind. Undermont says late. Yeah, but you're right in time for the second half of my trivia game, which I'm going to start now in order. Number 5. This outstanding Bruce Lee flick was the first example of Hong Kong cinema produced by a Hollywood studio. Was it A, Game of Death, B, The Big Boss, C, Enter the Dragon, or D, Fists of Fury? Harold says the New York Strip looks amazing. Are you looking my restaurant up on Yelp right now? Okay, all right. If you're going to, okay. Look up Bob. If you go into the photos, you can see pictures of me with many people. There's even one. Well, anyway, see if you can find my photos while you're at it. But anyway, let me repeat. And yes, the strip is outstanding. Although I prefer the steak tips. And yes, Blix. Indeed, it's random movie trivia tonight. And again, number 5 is this outstanding Bruce Lee flick was the first example of Hong Kong cinema produced by a major Hollywood studio. Was it A, Game of Death, B, Big Boss, C, Enter the Dragon, or D, Fist Fury? And give you guys a second there. That's the thing about Bruce Lee movies is everybody it's kind of all over the place on the facts. So Emily says I know nothing about Bruce Lee. That's okay. He knew nothing about you, but I'm bummed. See if I get any more guesses. I think not. It was actually Enter the Dragon with John Saxon, otherwise known as. Oh, come on, Mama Thrash knows this. John Saxon, whose actual name was John Ulrico. And I've told the story probably 4,000 times. I'm going to again. I love John Saxon because he did all kinds of action, sci-fi, horror. He was the sheriff slash father in the Freddy Krueger universe. He was Dylan Hunt in 2 out of the 3 Dylan Hunt sagas. He was the crazy emperor in one of the wackiest adaptations of Samurai Battle Beyond the Stars. So I thought he was great. He was Maskatron in $6 Million Man, and my mother had a crush on him when she was a kid because apparently he was this heartthrob back in the 50s. So he was a generational awesome dude. I actually got a message from his son after he passed on, but that's another story. Anyway, moving on to number 4. Oh, C was C was Enter the Dragon too, by the way. Because sometimes I give the answer but don't give the letter. Number 4. This game changer horror flick was the first to be nominated for an Academy Award Best Picture. Was it A, Carrie, B, The Exorcist, C, Suspiria, or D, Dawn of the Dead? I shall repeat. This game changer horror flick was the first to be nominated for a Best Picture Academy Award. Was it A, Carrie, B, The Exorcist, C, Suspiria, or D, Dawn of the Dead? Give you guys a second on that one. Harold says, I keep trying to go to Bruce Lee's grave, but the wife keeps preventing me from being able to get up there. Oh, dude, I'm sorry. Shona says, I love the Kentucky Fried Movie spoof on it. A Fistful of Yen. I absolutely, Fistful of Yen. Actually, it's probably my favorite segment in Kentucky Fried Movie. Thomas says, Catholic high school girls in trouble. That actually was filmed in Boston. Gary Garber says, I saw it too, but it's not really good. Not sure which one she's referring to. Oh, the remake. The remake, yes. I hit that button again here. I don't want to accidentally report somebody. If I hit the screen in the wrong manner, it brings up the icon where I can block people or report them. I don't want to do any of those things. And Gary says to T, you should try Barty Armored drinks. They're really good. I love the title already. As I get older, I'm a beer man. I've become such a beer man lately. I just now I understand you guys can't get Sam Adams in most of the rest of the country. It's a big label up here. Um, but yeah, your cousin from Boston. But anyway, yeah. We have Sam Adams up here, and I just tried the Wicked Ales. It was a wicked variety pack. Wicked Dak. It's Wicked. The beer wasn't Dak. The Bax is Dak. The Bax is Dak. And Sean says to Tom McCluskey, yeah. And Emily says, we can get it here in North Carolina. Oh, excellent, excellent. And did I give the answer? I don't think I gave the answer. The answer was B, The Exorcist. The Exorcist was B. Number 3, Sissy Spacek breakthrough flick, Coal Miner's Daughter, is loosely based on the life of this mega country star. Was it A, Loretta Lynn, B, Tammy Wynette, C, June Carter, or D, Dolly Parton? Indy, you guessed the wrong one. It was The Exorcist. Sorry. I shall repeat. Sissy Spacek's breakthrough flick, Coal Miner's Daughter, is loosely based on the life of this mega country star. Post Malone. Was it A, Loretta Lynn, B, Tammy Wynette, C, June Carter, or D, Dolly Parton? Oh, and hey, you know what? For extra credit, she had a sister who is also a mega country star. Name the sister as well, if you can. If you can't, don't worry about it. And he says, I know I thought it was A, but the letter is now A, LOL. Gotcha. So, ooh, very good, very good. Yes, the answer is A, Loretta Lynn, and her sister was Crystal Gale. Very good. Oh, Sean says to Indy, I couldn't recall Ushi's name. Thank you. Early dementia, I think. Yeah, we all got that. I think we all got that. And he says, I can't spell. LOL. Spell on this channel. Spelling never ever counts. Oh, I was watching it. It was big gaps on game shows. The kid on it was Wheel of Fortune. The kid got the $1 million marker. All he had left was vowels. It was the mythic figure Achilles. He said mythic figure Achilles. And they wouldn't give it to him because he mispronounced it. There would have been blood. It's my understanding, by the way, the ancient Greeks, that no one's really sure how it was pronounced. That's why, who was the famous Nicias? Nicias has also been pronounced Nicias. So anyway, but I digress. Number 2. This candy was featured in the family sci-fi mega hit E.T. Was it A, M&M's, B, Reese's Pieces, C, Skittles, or D, Good and Plenty? Once upon a time, there was an engineer Choo Choo Charlie was his name, I hear. He had an engine and he sure had fun. Charlie says, love my Good and Plenty. Charlie says, ironically, I never really like Good and Plenty. Good and Plenty's okay, but never really like Good and Plenty. And he says, wait, I am wrong, LOL. Yeah, but we're all friends here, so don't hold it against you. Daryl John says, hey, Mandy. Oh, Mandy's here. Oh, yes, Mandy. Oh, hang on. Mandy, I can't believe my luck. All the best to everyone here. Mandy, oh my God, Mandy, so glad you could make it. We're just wrapping up the trivia game, but I'm so glad you could make it, Miss. Very, very good to hear from you again. Don't be such a stranger, okay? Oh, and Mandy says, wow. But a lot of people saying Mandy. Oh, Mandy. And John Collins says, Bob, the answer is, of course. Why do you say it was only loosely based on? Oh, yeah, it was A, of course. And because they did change a few things for Hollywood drama. It was not a full documentary, it was a dramentary. Perhaps more than loosely based. Perhaps it was more accurate than I let on. But yes, the answer was A. It was Loretta Lynn, and there we go. Tug says they were about to discontinue it before ET came out. Spielberg got a deal with advertising. I said what? Oh, I see. What's the topic tonight? Please again. It's just random movie trivia. You can get the rest in replay. We're just got the last two now, but yeah, just random movies. And Indy Spouts says every time you say Indy says, I think I don't remember typing that. That's right. I got Indy Spouts and Indy Minds. I tell you what, I'm gonna call Indy Minds in Minds and Indy Spouts Indy. And then because see, when I say it, I know what I'm talking about. So my father, when he used to mix my brother and I up and get a little perturbed that we didn't know who he was talking about because he knew who he was talking about. We should have extrapolated. So he would go, David, and I would wait for David to go in and see what Dad wanted. And he goes, no, I meant you. And I'm like, how am I supposed to know that? But and it wasn't even like we were close in age. There's 10 years between my brother and I. Yeah, Emily says random movie trivia. Cindy says tastes like a rainbow. Ah, yes. And Mandy says, okay, random movies. Daryl Jones says that's Dr. Jones to you, Missy. And Tech says, no time for love, Dr. Jones. And Christopher says, good evening, Mandy. And Indy says, you can call me Spouts Bob. You can call me Ray. Or you can call me Jay. I've actually got stuck calling you Indy. I'll try calling you Spouts, but I doubt I'll be effective. Oh, Gary says, Mandy, is there a Mr. Handy? And Christopher says, good evening, Indy. And In Mine says, I'm Mines, LOL. All right. I'm Mines. All right. I'm Mines. Not In Mines, I'm Mines. Why did I always say in? It's in. It's very in. That's why I do it. It's in. It's I'm Mine. So I'm Mines. It is. I knew who you were, though. And Emily says, I used to get my son and my cat mixed up. Neither were never sure who I was talking to. I wouldn't be either. And Tug says, I can call you Betty and you can call me Al. Dominic D says, but you doesn't have to call me Johnson. Oh, my grandpa Jim loved that bit, which is the only bit he ever did. Cindy says, it's the mind. Tonight on It's the Mind. Deja vu. That feeling you sometimes get. Um, In Mind says, no stress. The screen name is iconic. LOL. I try. And Spouts says, I, for one, appreciate the dramatic build up to the last question. Which reminds me, I never gave the answer to the second to last question. It was Reese's Pieces. Apparently, though, Spielberg wanted to use M&Ms because they were from Mars candy. And Eminem said no. And so, yeah, use Reese's Pieces instead. And the number one question, I'm not going to tell you. And the number one question is the Beverly Hills Cop was actually from where? Was it A, Milwaukee, B, Chicago, C, Detroit, or D, St. Louis? And Sean says, being the youngest of five, when your mother would yell at us, she would start by yelling at the oldest brother, the middle brother, before yelling at me. Gary Carter says, geek, and I'll call you a Greek or not for dinner. I'm sorry, you jump while I was reading. I'm sorry. Emily says, I would yell at my son and call him Simba. Is that symbolic? And vice versa. They were both hard headed heathens. And Einmine says, I was wrong. I said M&M's. A lot of people did, but yeah, no, it's Reese's Pieces. What do you mean's here just in time for the end of the show? What do you mean here says hello everyone. Sorry I'm late. No, dude, brother, friend, you are always on time. And it's always good having you. And please continue to join us as always. And Minnie says, Brooklyn, I thought, LOL, I was wrong. And Cindy says, when my mom would say my first and middle name, I was in trouble. Wow. Wow. I very seldom get the middle name, but when I heard Robert, I'm like, oh, what I do now? Let's just see. And Indy says to Zublix, your answer for C should showed up before he got to it. I have been a few seconds behind this whole time. And oh, and in my mind says Cindy was right, and Daryl says, "Fortune and glory, kid. Fortune and glory. I love it." And Tug says, "I'm convinced that that's the only reason middle names have persisted." I can see that. Mindy says, "I worked at Cinema Tavern in the '80s. Best movies." Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine. Let me repeat the question because I don't think I did. The Beverly Hills Cop was actually from where? A, Milwaukee, B, Chicago, C, Detroit, or D, St. Louis? If we haven't answered, I think everyone who is going to answer has answered, and I'll take some scores too. And in Minds says, I told my boss that tonight, when in trouble, my whole name gets yelled out. And what do you mean saying hello to everybody? Everyone saying hello back. And Sean says, to Mr. Wilkinson, you are local or somewhat local to Thresh, aren't you? Yeah, he's in Rhode Island. He's about an hour and 45 minutes away. He's actually been in my restaurant twice, and which we really appreciate. He and his father, who's retired chef's department, I believe, Christopher, they've come in for dinner on 2 occasions. And the answer, C, Detroit. C, Detroit. And now I'll get scores. And Tug says, are you going to tell us the answer or do you want us to guess our score? Both. Weisenheimer. NCD says, yes, the X Motor City. Enzo Blix is 10 for 10. No extra point. Christopher says, yes, my dad. Harold is 7 for 10. Oh, come, people. There are more scores than that. Here we go. Dominic D is 8 for 10. John Ennis is 9 for 10. Should have gotten the Bruce Lee question. Oops. It's the easy ones you're more likely to miss. What do you mean is 0 for 10? You'll watch and replay. There you go. Tug is 10 for 10. I told you random was my jam. Emily is 7 for 10. If you got the bonus, I certainly do. That's why they're bonuses. And Keith E says, I have a few out of 10. Perfect score. That's a perfect score. And Gary Carmen is 8 for 10. And Ramanama, Anamana, 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 I think, is that all the scores? Well, all the scores for people keeping scores. And I mean, he says, I think I know everything until I come here. It's all part of the fun. It's all part of the fun. We're all friends here. And speaking of which, it's getting towards that time. But one thing I have to remind everybody of, remember this coming Monday, July 15th, unless I'm wrong, Zublex, please point that out if I am. This July 15th is going to be Retropalooza Volume 7. And ironically, it's going to be on celebrity passings who have meant the most to us. And as we were talking about earlier, there have been a ton of them in the last 24 hours. It's like all Crime on the Western Front all of a sudden. So, but anyway, it's still going to be a lot of fun, and I invite each and every one of you to join. I wasn't able to get new content out this week. The week kind of got away from me as the last week did, and the week before that, Scott says you are correct, and Indy said, Spout says, with the Gale bonus, I got a number of fingers possessed by Anne Boleyn. Um, I'll take that as 11. Sean says to Doug, the new show saying tired or don't be afraid of to love something as long as you aren't hurting anyone. Ah, yes, the Tug show, yes. And Daryl says, for the bug chamber sequence, Kate Cap Shaw was really covered with over 2,000 insects. Ew. She took sedatives prior to the scene to get over her initial fear and claimed it definitely worked. The the sedatives. Sedative! Um, Gary says, Cindy, when you mentioned the rainbow, which one over the rainbow connection? Oh, over the rainbow or the rainbow connection? Tomato, tomato. It says 8:30 PT. I believe it's 8:30. Yes, I believe you are correct. Thank you. But now I'm second guessing myself. It's on his page. If you go to his community tab, you'll get the accurate time. And WD says Polly Williams wrote the Rainbow Connection. I knew that. I knew that. And someone says Shelley had a good heart, Gary. Yes, she certainly did. And Sean says Rainbow was my jam. The new saying. And Indy says, thanks for the trivia, Bob. You're so welcome. Tug says, one day we'll find it. And Sean says, Santa, give Abby someone. Abby normal. Anthony says, I meant Skittles commercial. Taste the sensation. Or taste the rainbow. Yes. Taste the sensation is a peppermint patty. I'm confusing my own shticks lately. Although I love Where the Rainbow's Sung by Ray Charles. And Daryl says, Dan Aykroyd as Weber, the British accented man who escorts Indy, Short, Rainbow, and Willie onto the cargo plane. Wow. Wow. I haven't seen that movie in over 20 years. And I completely forgot that. Daryl, thank you. Thank you so much. I so did not remember that. Uh, and anywho, on that note, I just want to say I want to thank all you guys for showing up as always. We'll have another show next Sunday, same bat time, same Thrash channel. Oh, by the way, have you guys all checked out? It's in my content page. Dave has very, very nicely made me my own theme song, and I absolutely love it. It's right on my content page. Everybody, please, please, please check it out. Check it out. Oh, and Emily says my favorite version of Over the Rainbow was by the Hawaiian Dude. Oh, yes, that's a good one as well. And Gary says, I know that I was just joking. And Keith says, all good. Peace out. See you down the road. Put the pencils down. Test is over. Everyone, pencils down, please. Pencils down. And anyway, I want to thank you all for being here. I love doing these shows. I'd like to think if you guys love them half as much as I do, then I enjoy them twice as much as you. But I'd like to think you guys enjoy them as much as I do. But anyway, I will be around this week. I'm going to try to put out new content. I haven't quite decided what. Okay. What do you guys think of? Are there any Carole King fans in the audience? I want to do. I'm going to butcher the name now. Smackdown Jack. I had the song stuck in my head, and when I was going through the lyrics, because that's what I do when I get a song stuck in my head, I actually listen to it with lyrics, and I'm like, wow. It might be a little hot to do that right now, but anyway, that's something I was actually thinking of doing. Again, Mandy says I love Carol. I love Carole King too. She's absolutely amazing. Do you know that she collaborated on Painted Black? I found that out recently. It was like Mind blown. And Daryl, no, to the best of my knowledge, she is still with us. Oh yeah, Mandy, her with the cat on that album, Sweet Seasons. But anyway, guys, got a motor. I want to thank you guys for being here. Oh, Cindy D says I disagree with both. Check out Ray Charles. Okay, I'll check out Ray Charles. And Tug says, I hate it when you see the red door. And Sean says, yeah, she wrote lots of good stuff, but was too self deprecating about her own singing. I can see that. I can see that too. Anyway, guys, be good, be safe, be careful, especially in today's climate. Take care of yourselves. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all again very, 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 very soon. Peace.